courtesy of LCG. I'm Komal Khan, and I am a sophomore at Business School. Along with me, I have my co-host Ahmed Waseem. Ahmed, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ahmed Waseem. I am a CS sophomore, currently in SSC, the School of Science and Engineering. Now, I would like Komal to provide a short introduction for our guest.
Okay, so Mr. Ali is a graduate of LUMS from 2003. He did his double majors in economics and computer science, as well as a minor in mathematics. He went on to do his master's in economics from University of Oxford and has 15 plus years of experience in capital markets and technology sector. He's currently serving as the CEO and chairman of KASB Securities, which is building a fintech business in Pakistan, as well as the CEO of BlockTech Pakistan. So right from the get-go, you can see that he's a very established man. We are really, really glad to have you here. So Mr. Ali, how is your day going? I know it's pretty early there, but how have you been?
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Great to connect with you. And my day is going well. It's 11 o'clock here. I just came back from cycling with my daughters. So I'm just sitting in the garden outside. It's a rare, beautiful day here in London. So yeah, it has been great and great to connect with you. And just, on my introduction, you're right that I did undergraduate from LUMS. I also did a master's from LUMS as well. I was in the first class of MSc Economics while I was a research associate for Dr. Ali Chima and Faisal Bari. And then I got the Rhodes Scholarship, so I went to Oxford. So that was a part which was missing. And yeah, I've now been working for 20 years. I think the profile was probably written 5 years ago. So
That's amazing.
That's great to hear about, and sorry for the mistake on the years of your experience. Okay, so since you mentioned that you're obviously a LUMS alumni, how was your time at LUMS? What were the things that you liked, you disliked, and what were certain things that you think really helped shape your career and the man you are today?
Oh, LUMS was perhaps the most important time in my life. And I feel very strongly connected with LUMS. I'm also the president of LUMS UK Alumni Association. And 8 of my family members went to LUMS. So I feel very strongly connected. And it was a life-changing time, the 5 years which I spent over there, not just in terms of the academic learning. I think that was perhaps in terms of priority, the least important, but the most important thing was, the friendship we made, the confidence we got, the exposure we got, and especially spending time with the faculty who were great mentors. And in our first year, one of our teachers, Khurram Hussain, who then became an editor at Dawn, very famous person, he said in our in a speech, the orientation speech, that the only thing which undergrad teaches you is how to read a book. That's it. Everything else you learn, you'll forget. The only thing we are teaching you over here is the confidence of how to read a book. And I thought that was really powerful because the time I spent at LUMS, the main learning was that whichever topic it is, whether it's a new computer language, whether this is a new subject, all we need is 1 quarter. We had a quarter system back then, so only like 3-4 months. So in 3 months, if you read enough books which are available, you'll be an expert in that computer language. You'll be an expert in that subject. You will have sufficient knowledge to learn more. So that perhaps was the most important thing I learned from LUMS, that nothing is too difficult. And even if you don't know anything, all you need is to read some books and you will learn about it.
That's great to hear about. Also, this is something like I personally relate with. Initially I found a lot of things really difficult. This is a thing you will eventually learn all of it. So with that, I would like to move on to our topic and introduce it. So today we will be learning all about blockchain technologies, what it is, how it works, what are the applications, implications, the dangers and risks associated with it. It will be really insightful for those of you who have no idea where to start from, what they are. So I would highly recommend that you guys stay tuned to the end. With that, over to Ahmed.
Yeah, so I think the biggest question that arises is essentially, okay, what exactly are blockchain technologies and how exactly do they work in layman terms?
So great question, a difficult question because it's a very broad question. So let me take a step back and take you to the history of how did it all begin. So the first blockchain or the first application of blockchain technology was Bitcoin. And that started with a paper published, I think, in later end of 2008 and start of 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. And nobody knows who he is. But the principle of that paper was that they wanted to make a decentralized payment mechanism for enabling transactions. And why did they want to do that? You have to remember that 2008 was the biggest financial crisis in the history of our humanity. And because of that, there was unemployment everywhere. Banks, big banks like Lehman Brothers had gone under, Bear Stearns and Merrill Lynch was sold. So there was a massive distrust in the global financial system and capitalism. If you remember, that started like this campaigns of Occupy campaigns. And I remember, London Stock Exchange in London, there were protesters outside. There were protesters outside Bank of England. There were similar protesters outside of New York Stock Exchange. And this was a global movement that people had lost trust in the financial system because they thought that it's rigged to benefit the powerful, whether it's a powerful country, i.e. the US dollar, or the powerful people or institutions like the bank. People thought that, government is bailing out the banks at the expense of them. So that created the necessity or the need for a decentralized currency or a system which is not controlled by one country, one bank, one system, one person. Right now, if the US wants, like we at Pakistan, we know this quite closely, because like US could put us on FATF's gray list, and suddenly you cannot make payments. Like when you guys, after you graduate from LUMS and want to go and study in the US, if Pakistan, God forbid, if Pakistan is placed on the blacklist, we won't be able to even give our fees to those universities to go and study over there. Forget about buying anything on Amazon or like using PayPal, etc. So the whole country, like 202 million people, are subject to one country. Like one country can decide whether we can use our money or not. And this is not just true for Pakistan, of course. This is true for any other any country in the world. So, think about a person in Russia or Africa. Like he's doing the same effort, putting in the same amount of, he has the same rights. Yet in the global financial markets, he doesn't have the same rights. He cannot go on PayPal and buy something on Amazon, even if he has the money to do that. Like how unfair is that? So that created the need for a decentralized currency, which is run by a computer system, not run by the Fed or one country or one person. So that generated Bitcoin. Now the reason why Bitcoin worked was that, as I said, it was not controlled by one person. There was a decentralized and distributed computer ledger. So then people thought that, there can be other applications of this decentralized distributed ledger, because in essence, what this technology allows is that it's putting the power of establishing trust in a computer system which is decentralized, which means that one person cannot change it. And computers, it's stored in multiple computers with multiple people. So one person cannot change it, which means that this is so powerful that it can have applications in many other areas, in all the areas where you have to prove three things. One is establish trust, B, establish provenance, C, establish that this is the true product. So for example, your university degrees. Right now, LUMS issues you your university degrees. There's a stamp of LUMS. And when you apply for, let's say, a job, or when you apply for foreign universities, they will say, we don't trust the stamp on it. So can you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and get a verified stamp on it? So there's a central party who's establishing trust. But if somehow a computer system could establish this through a decentralized system which is trusted globally, then you don't need to get that stamp from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Your marriage certificate, your COVID vaccination. PIA had this case last year or 2 years ago when they found out that people had fake degrees. So again, if this was decentralized, then you won't need a central party to establish trust on it. So that created this whole movement of blockchain technology, which today has applications in every single area you can think of, whether it's from agriculture or whether it's sports, computer games, metaverse now, real estate, health, everything. So I hope I've answered your question in a very long way, but I wanted to give you this historical example because it's important where it started from. It started from the application of money as a payment system. And then we realized that because it works over there, then the technology had applications in multiple areas, some of the areas which we have mentioned.
That makes sense. And that was a really great explanation. So I guess the question then arises, what exactly are the mechanics of such a system? I mean, on the computer system scale.
again, difficult question because it's a broad question. By mechanics, I'm assuming that, how is it done? Like, how do you do it? So there are multiple distributed ledgers. One is called Bitcoin. That's one distributed database. Think about it as a database which is not stored in one server, but it's stored on multiple servers. Again, I'm giving the example of LUMS because you guys probably use it. Like, you must have a shared folder where you get access to, where you save your assignments. That's stored on one server. If that server is compromised or it's broken or it's hacked, then your things are lost. Instead of that, now if the same application file, when you upload it, it's saved in multiple servers, then it becomes one distributed database. And each time you upload it, it's uploaded at all the different servers. So that's one. Each of those databases has a different name. So Bitcoin is one, Ethereum is another one. Ethereum also allows you to build on top of it. So you can build multiple applications using the same technology as multiple layers on top. And then there are others. For example, like the problem with Bitcoin was that because it was made for payments and it was the first application, it was not scalable. So then there were other companies like, for example, Stacks, which is founded by a class fellow and friend of mine, Munib Ali, also from LUMS. They are trying to improve the performance of Bitcoin by making layers on top of it. So Stacks, for example, allows people to make contracts on Stacks, which then is sitting on as a layer one on top of Bitcoin. And there are multiple other technologies which are doing this as well. So, Polygon and Cardano and Solana, which are trying to solve similar problems. So think of it as multiple different databases, each with their own benefits and downsides, and you can use any of those to mint your whatever you want to mint, which is another way of saying you can store your application file, picture on that database using various technology tools.
I see. So essentially, what we achieve through this decentralization is the idea that every node in a network becomes the centralized server in a certain sense.
Absolutely. So you have one thing stored in multiple. Think of it as a distributed database.
That makes sense. Now those are the mechanics, and that's what blockchain technology actually is, what this distributed ledger system actually is. What exactly are the applications of it? I mean, I understand that they are diverse, but specifically, I've heard of cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and sometimes even smart contracts.
Yes, so now the applications are in every single aspect of technology, which is why it's leading to the creation of what is called Web 3.0. Which is why there's so much excitement about it, because it's not confined to one sector or one area, but literally how it's about redefining the internet completely. And it's really, really important to understand this because, I hear this debate in Pakistan, and when people really think about blockchain, they are thinking about cryptocurrencies. And hence they think about the volatility in that and the investment in that. That's not why there's excitement in the world about this technology. The excitement and the reason why people are investing is because it's redefining internet completely. So which is why, it's almost stupid for Pakistan to say we'll ban it, because, you cannot, if you're banning it, you're essentially saying that we won't participate in the new internet, which is being written. So it's not understanding the thing at all. So let me give you examples. And I deliberately want to give more difficult examples just because, so that you understand how important the applications are. So, for example, a lot of you at LUMS might be playing computer games. They are very addictive. And I remember at LUMS, a lot of my class fellows used to sit at the lab on in their computer hostels and play computer games all night. So in the computer game, if you're, I wasn't one of them. I deliberately tried not to play games because I knew that it had detrimental impact on your GPAs. But if I give you examples, if you're playing Need for Speed. In Need for Speed, you use a car and you ride it and you win the game. Now that car doesn't belong to you. Anybody else who plays the game can also use the same car. So you have become the champion of Need for Speed, and you have been using one particular car and winning tournament. But each time you use that car or each time you play Need for Speed, you pay money. You spend time. So with blockchain, it allowed people that you can actually own the car you are playing with. So for example, if you're the best driver and you have been riding one car, but you can actually purchase the car. And if you purchase it, then later on, once you win races with it, the value of the car goes up because people know that this is a car which has actually won so many races. And if that happens, then you can rent out your car to other people who come to play, or you can even sell it. So you are actually, instead of paying money to play games, you're actually making money from games. So the whole the paradigm changes completely. And that's why it's so important that games, which were previously just a way of losing money and wasting time, suddenly became a way of making money by ownership of the assets which are created from it. And that's done through a technology called NFT, that, a non-fungible token, because the car you play with in a digital world, you can purchase it. And if there's only one of it, i.e. it's a non-fungible token, i.e. it can be proven that there's only one of that car, then you can claim ownership and then you can earn money from that. It's the same for any other game. Like, I know there are, games where you're fighting with guns and etc. So you can own and buy your own gun and keep it in your catalog, and it belongs to you, which means you can sell it in the future. So it opens up a complete digital economy in a computer game. That's just one example of the application of blockchain. I can give you easier application which most people give, and I think which many people find it easy to understand, like university degrees. Like, you can put it on blockchain, and you can have a wallet linked with it, which means that now you don't need certification from your university or HEC certificate, and you don't have to waste time paying a third party to verify it. COVID vaccination certificates. I at K-Trade, we made it mandatory for people to get COVID vaccination, and somebody was telling me that, in Pakistan you can even get like fake vaccination certificate. That problem wouldn't exist if you had a blockchain which was verifying each time somebody got their COVID vaccination. So the applications are in every single area, but it's important to understand that it's not just now about verifying proof of identity or proof of ownership. Now it's about, this is how the new internet and the new digital economy is being created. A Web 2.0, the web which you guys are used to, in that the ownership of your digital content does not belong to you. The ownership of content belongs to big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc. It wasn't the case like this in Web 1.0. So, when I was at LUMS, internet for us really started in 96. And at that time, they used bulletin boards and the first email. And I came to LUMS in 99. And at that time, there were early websites. But if you remember, and you wouldn't remember, you probably wouldn't be born at that time. But at that time, our websites, our LUMS CS 101 project was making your own personal website. That website used to be hosted on our own local server, not on Amazon, not on a third-party server, not on these hosting services which provide this service. The server used to be hosted on your own local computer, which meant that when somebody was going on, let's say, Ali.com or alifarid.com, they were coming to my computer and accessing my computer. I was getting them the right to access my computer. This changed in Web 2.0. In Web 2.0, companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all the internet companies with the advent of cloud computing said that we will provide you with this servers. You can upload things over there, and then you can access it, and then you can pay us a fees for accessing. That was great. It was very scalable. It made it cheap for me to make my website, but I lost control over the digital economy, and the digital economy got controlled by these large companies, which today are more than, Apple alone is more than $2 trillion market cap. Web 3.0 is trying to take back control of that. And they're saying, instead of ownership between these large companies, which have ended up dominating everything, because it's the same example as the example we started off with the US dollar controlling the global financial markets. Twitter controls what the media, and Google and Facebook control everything we consume. So these guys are saying, let's fight these guys by making decentralized applications. And that's the whole excitement about blockchain and the decentralized economy. Now, where cryptocurrency comes in, I know, for most people, when they think about blockchain, and they must be thinking that, this guy has spoken for such a long time, but he hasn't told us, which cryptocurrency to buy. Now, the currency I think that the word makes people slightly, it is misleading. It takes you down the wrong pathway. the currency is just a token for participation. Again, like, if it's decentralized, which means that, my right is the same as your right, then when we participate in these digital economies, we get these tokens, which we can buy as well, and which we can sell as well. So, just like, when we go to a computer game arcade, again, I don't know if you guys know what an arcade is, but back then, but you buy these tokens which you can use and redeem and sell. So that's what, cryptocurrencies are nothing but tokens for participating in these digital economies. If a digital economy is doing well, for example, if a game is doing really, really well, then that means more people are participating in it. That means that the value of that token will go up. If that economy is not doing well, then the value of that token will go down. Now, there is some speculation which is coming right now because everything is very new and there's a lot of excitement. And that speculation is making volatility. But that volatility is not important. What is important is, over the long term, only those platforms will do well which are fundamentally strong and which get people use their platform. For example, like Stacks, the tokens STX will be only valuable
at all. That was really insightful. That was really nice. I think it's like now it's really important that, especially our generation, we have this fear of missing out, and especially in this regard, a lot of us don't exactly know a lot with reference to blockchain technologies, or even cryptocurrencies. So how exactly are we supposed to get into all of this without any prior knowledge?
Again, difficult question. I think the question is easy, the answer is very difficult. And so there are two ways. The first way is that there are certain, you can make a bet on the overall ecosystem. So for example, buying Bitcoin or buying Ethereum is a general bet that, if this ecosystem develops, then, these are the fundamental platforms on which the whole ecosystem. So, I don't know anything about game is good or which application will be strong or which technology is good, but I'm just buying the fundamental base layer, because if everything goes up, then these guys will benefit. So that's one way. But if you're using that way, then you're essentially just keep yourself to these two, because you don't know anything about anything else, and anything else is just there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of fraudsters in it. Besides that, if you want to go into some, like if you want to invest, for example, I've invested in Stacks, but then you really are making a bet on that technology, and you cannot make that bet without knowing about it. So for example, Axie Infinity is a game which was the first play to earn game. If you play that game, you earn money. Now, because you get these tokens called Axies, which are valuable. Now, the value of those tokens, Axies, is only as good as the number of players who are buying it. So if you want to invest in Axie, and initially, the token went up massively, like a few 1,000%, but you should only buy it if you think that the game is good. So if you think the game is not good, you should not buy it. So similarly, if you should buy Stacks if you think that more people will use Stacks. If you do your research and if you think that nobody will use Stacks because they will use Solana, which competes with Stacks, then don't buy Stacks, then buy Solana. So the research which you have to do, and it's very important to do that research, you have to do that research on the application rather than how much the token has gone up on. So that's my advice, that if you want to invest, firstly, this is not about investing. Generally, this is not about investing. This is about learning a technology and participating in the economy. If you are thinking about it from investment, I think you as students of LUMS are thinking about it the completely wrong way. Except that if you're thinking that, over the long term, I'm making a small allocation to this technology because over the next 50 years, the internet will be rewritten with this technology. And I just want to be a part of that. So I'm putting a small amount of money in this economy so that 50 years later, if this economy is bigger, then I make a lot of money. That's the right way of doing it. And in that case, you buy Bitcoin and you sleep over it. But you're not trading. So do not trade. This is when you go into trading, and I know a lot of people at LUMs and loads of people in Pakistan, millions of people in Pakistan are trading it. That's only gambling, and you'll only lose money on that. That's pure gambling, and I cannot advise you on that. Like, because how can I? That's like asking advice on whether the dice should, whether you should bet on the red color or the black color in a casino. No, advice won't really help you on that. So, but if you want to, like, my suggestion to you is that you should all participate in blockchain technology in this economy, because if what the people believe is correct, then the internet will be rewritten, and you don't want to miss out on the new internet. But for that, you need to understand how is the internet getting rewritten. And this is not about being computer science major or economics major or finance major or accounting major. This is about participating in the internet. It's like, when our parents, like, internet started, our parents didn't know anything about it. So it was difficult for them to, participate in the digital economy. It's very similar right now. My daughters are 11 and 8. They know more about Roblox than I do. It's very difficult for me to understand Roblox and participate in that. But the amount of time they spend on Roblox is they spend a major time of their life on that. So if I want to be relevant for their world, i.e., like, I'm 40 years old now, but if I want to be relevant for them and make products which are relevant for them, then I need to understand what are they doing and what are the tools they're using. I cannot just live in my world, and my world was Orkut. It wasn't even Facebook. Facebook came after we graduated from LUMS. So technology might be our technology might be redundant. So all of you must learn about this technology, but the way to learning is first understand what are the implications of Web 3.0, what is metaverse, what are NFTs, and read about that. And then when you like, if you find and like a project, for example, you like a game, Axie Infinity or Sands or any application, and you're convinced that you want to participate in that, you have a unique opportunity that you can invest in it when the company is starting out. It's like investing in Google when Google started out, or Facebook when Facebook started out. So that's the opportunity in front of you, how you should invest. But please don't stay away from these crypto trading applications. You will only lose money. I'm sure a lot of you already have.
That's actually really great advice. Yeah. Basically, in Pakistan, I know a lot of people just hear this concept that blockchain and crypto trading हो रही है, so we should just get into it, but they don't really know कि कितना ज़्यादा risk involved है, or they don't really do the research behind it. And so I think that your advice is really great. And I think what you mentioned is that blockchain is redefining the internet, and it essentially is, but there are also a lot of concerns about its environmental impacts. When I was reading up about it, so I read basically it utilizes a lot of computational power and electricity. उसके अलावा, like, around 96 million tons of carbon dioxide emission जो है ना, वो सिर्फ Bitcoin mining से हो रही है, and Ethereum mining से 47 million tons. It is equivalent to the amount of carbon dioxide emission जो कि a small country, for instance, emission कर रही है. So it does have a very adverse impact on our economy, on our environment, basically. So do you think it is unethical, or like how long will it take it to make it sustainable? Because right now, around, I guess, 39% of this energy is being made from renewable resources. Lekin a large portion is not. And obviously, uska jo ek impact hai, considering that global warming and climate change are very present issues today. What is your take on that?
So there is, I've read and I'm aware of this argument and this point, but it's actually not true. As in, it's partially true. So you're right that the first applications of internet, of blockchain, like Bitcoin, the way they were establishing the trust in the system is that each time you save a record on Bitcoin, which is called minting, or you make a block, you use energy to do that. You use computing. You don't use energy. You use computational power to do that. I.e., you solve. There's an algorithm which you solve, and that algorithm requires energy because your computer runs on energy. So you need energy for that, and that because so many people started using Bitcoin, the energy consumption level of that went up. Now, the new blockchains which are coming up, and now there are thousands of them, do not use the same mechanism. They are not using energy, and they're not using computational proof mining as proof of ownership or proof of stake. There are other methods which they're using. So that energy argument is not, it's only true for few of the blockchains, not true for all of the blockchains. That's point number one. The second point is that energy consumption is in everything. So for example, banks, when you work in a bank, they use electricity as well. They use they when I worked at UBS, we had so many printers on every floor. We printed so many paper. I'm sure that had a major impact on environment as well. So, and then that argument again was not that valid, because like data centers of Amazon and Google and Facebook also use a lot of energy. So I think like a lot of those arguments were just put by companies which are threatened.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm pretty sure okay, in the future all of this will become totally sustainable as we are evolving. And okay, so my next question would be कि, since we talked about decentralization, तो एक तरह से banks का role जो है वो हम totally eliminate कर रहे हैं. तो what will be the impact of this on the banking systems overall? कुछ countries जो हैं they're very afraid कि हमारे financial system को destabilize कर देगा overally, और governments वगैरह भी ban कर रही हैं obviously because they're afraid कि पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. So do you think that these concerns are genuine, and like what will be the long term impact अगर eventually governments को ban कर देती हैं?
Great question. So जैसे मैंने बोला शुरू में कि ब्लॉकचेन की एप्लीकेशन जो है वो सिर्फ फाइनेंस में नहीं है. ब्लॉकचेन की एप्लीकेशन जो फाइनेंस में थी उसकी सबसे बड़ा प्रोडक्ट जो है वो बिटकॉइन है. दैट्स द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ ब्लॉकचेन इन बिटकॉइन. And that's why deliberately in this webinar, I've mostly given you examples of computer games. I've not given you examples of Bitcoin. I've not given you examples of finance or banking or monetary system. Now, अगर computer games खेल रहे हो उसमें banking system को कोई impact नहीं है, because it's not relevant for it at all. Now, unfortunately, because when governments are thinking about crypto, they are only thinking about two things. Either they're thinking about speculation, which is happening on these platforms. So they are concerned about people losing money and that. Or secondly, they are thinking about the applications of blockchain in the financial markets. Now, in financial markets, as you rightly said, that there are two approaches which the governments are taking, or banks are taking, or regulators are taking. In Europe, because the regulators have understood it, they're actually embracing it. So all the large banks, whether it's JP Morgan or HSBC or name any bank, they're all investing in blockchain applications and trying to use it to introduce efficiencies in their systems. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon was the most aggressive against blockchain. And despite that, his bank is offering that to their customers. The largest asset manager in the world is Fidelity. Fidelity is recommending its customers to invest money in blockchain. It's the largest in the world. Like, they manage a few $1 trillion. To put that in perspective, they manage money which is like 10 times more than overall GDP of Pakistan, which means if you add the wealth of everybody in Pakistan, they have multiple times that. And they're telling their investors to buy blockchain. So a lot of the fears are just purely because of lack of understanding, because you fear, generally in life, you fear something which you don't know. कोई नया सब्जेक्ट आता है लम्स में, हम कहते हैं यार बहुत मुश्किल है. जब हम पढ़ लेते हैं तो कहते हैं यार तो इतना मुश्किल नहीं था, आसान था, मगर पहले बहुत डरे होते हैं कि यार ये किस तरह डील करेंगे इसके साथ. So it's similar that a lot of the fear in this technology are just because the bureaucrats who are dealing with it don't understand, and they don't want to spend time understanding it. So what they are saying is, okay, जो इंडिया करेगा वो कॉपी कर लेंगे, और इंडिया कहेगा जो अमेरिका करेगा वो कॉपी कर लेंगे. तो sooner or later, like I think today there's a news that Russia has regulated it. So I think sooner or later everybody will just regulate it and adopt it. You cannot fight. It's very difficult to fight a decentralized movement because there's no one person to fight against. आप किसको Satoshi Nakamoto, there's no one person behind it, so it's very difficult to stop it.
Ideas are bulletproof. That's how it goes. So, I have read up on a certain fertilizer company in India that used smart contracts. So the next question I had in mind was essentially the idea of smart contracts and how it could be, how they're implemented and their merits.
Yes, so all of these applications which we spoke about, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's verifying your and securing your university degrees or your real estate ownership and transacting on it, all of these are smart contracts. Or establishing buying a car in your in Need for Speed, you're essentially, that's a smart contract. You have to remember that the pace of digitalization is exponential, and a lot of that change has happened because of faster internet. 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G. We are moving to a world where machines will be talking with each other. The Internet of Things. Now, with Internet of Things, you cannot have a central party. It's very difficult to assume a central party who is doing the trust and validation and verification. And that's why the reason why Web 3.0, there's so much conviction that the vision we have spoken about Web 3.0 is real, is because we know that we are moving to a new internet, which is the Internet of Things. So Internet of Things will be done through smart contracts. Smart contracts where the machine talks to the machine, and it's the algorithms which decide things, and hence we will treat them as true because they're all automated. For example, the example which is always given is that I can make a contract, an algorithm, and feed it to my fridge, that each time it runs out of eggs, it should automatically make an order to Tesco, like my nearby store, and they can come and deliver it. So I don't have to monitor it and do it myself. I can just put a sensor over there on the egg rack that as soon as there are only 2 or 3 left, then it should give an order on its own. So we are moving to that world of sensors and Internet of Things, and through that you need a digital currency for that. Again, if you want this vision of your fridge making an order for your eggs, you cannot. It's very if it does it over Visa and MasterCard, then the cost of such system will be very high. So Bitcoin or digital currencies were created for digital transactions.
I see. So I guess you have addressed this question that I'm about to phrase in some capacity, but there's always this fear of the idea that something that is not tangible doesn't have value in the same capacity that something that is tangible and physical and has value. So the criticism that is leveled to NFTs nowadays, especially the NFTs in the form of art, let's say, it's the idea that it is essentially just a JPEG. And that's how people usually put it bluntly. And essentially, that's the criticism that's leveled. Would you like to address that in some certain sense?
It's a great point. So again, let me take you back in time. So essentially, the reason why art is expensive is because in art, you can establish provenance. You can say that this is the original painting. So for example, an original Picasso might be worth like, $80–90 million. That original Picasso it's so expensive that actually it won't be displayed in the house. The owner of that Picasso would probably put it in a safe room somewhere, in a bank locker, guarded with high technology. And then he would have a copy of that, and he would put that copy in his house and say, I own the original, and it's lying somewhere in the lockers with guards and all that stuff. But the original one is valuable. The copy is not valuable, although the copy might be exact copy. Why is the original one valuable? Because it's unique. There's uniqueness in that. There's only one original one. You can make hundreds of copies of
that painting, but the original one is expensive. And people do make copies, so it's not that people don't make copies. In the internet, when digital internet started, like the digital economy, the value of art was zero because you could not differentiate between the copy and the original one. You could not differentiate between the two. You could do a Control-C, Control-V, you wouldn't know which one was the original one. And that's why art was valued at zero, because you can have hundreds and thousands and millions of copies at the cost of making one low, and there's no way of telling which one is the original one. With NFTs, you can tell which one is the original one. So the original becomes unique. And because the original one is unique, even if somebody makes a copy of it, the copy is not valuable. The original one is valuable. The same thing which happens in art. जैसा मैंने बोला कि art में original की value है, उसकी copy आप exact copy बना लो, लोग बनाते हैं, उसकी value नहीं है. तो इसका मतलब है कि value is not coming because of two things looking alike. You can have an original Rolex watch and you can go to a dairy in Islamabad which will be selling copy of it. मगर the copy will not be original. And original की value है, क्योंकि original वाली unique है. आपके साथ एक certificate मिल रहा है कि this is the original value. With NFT allows you to make an original digital art, and that's why it's valuable. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I was actually just reading the news yesterday, and YouTube has actually announced that it will be incorporating NFTs now on its platform. And I think that it's like really clear that we are moving toward a certain direction here, where we are, just I think the copyright wala system is being replaced by this NFT wali thing. With that, I have another question here. We have already established that blockchain is essentially the future, and I think you touched upon this before. But what do you think? How can it add value for the startups and for the student body, and what will be the benefit be for the early adopters of this technology? जो अभी इसमें invest कर रहे हैं and thinking about it, adopting it right now. How can it essentially benefit those people?
एक तो मुझे आपने मेंशन किया YouTube का, तो पिछले वाले सवाल से let me just extend that हमने आर्ट की बात की, अब इसकी एप्लीकेशन हर एरिया में है. फॉर एग्जांपल म्यूजिक में हम गाना खरीदते हैं, कहते हैं चलो ये YouTube का गाना है, मगर YouTube के गाने की मल्टीपल कॉपीज, मतलब कॉपीज ही बिक रही है जो डिजिटल हम खरीदते हैं. What if you can have the original song, the first song sung by YouTube? And they can have an NFT with that recording that this is the first song, the first version of that song which was ever sung. For example, book collection. अगर आपने से कोई book collecting करते हैं, तो book collectors मेरे पास जैसा एक book पड़ी भी है, उसका नाम क्या है, Pillars of Wisdom, लॉरेंस ऑफ अरेबिया जो था उसने लिखी थी, तो उसका मेरे पास थर्ड वर्जन है. तो थर्ड वर्जन है तो बहुत महंगा है, क्योंकि वो इट्स अ थर्ड print of that book which was written like some 100 years ago. So in the higher value than a reprint of the same book. मगर म्यूजिक में ऐसा, म्यूजिक में आप जितना मर्जी उसके बना लो वर्जन, बनाने वाले वर्जन की वैल्यू ज्यादा नहीं है. इनफैक्ट पुराने वाले वर्जन की वैल्यू कम होती रहेगी कि शायद क्वालिटी उस रिकॉर्डिंग की खराब हो जाएगी. तो मगर अगर आपके पास NFT है, then you can say that you own the original song which was sung by YouTube, the original version. So उसकी value बढ़ती रहेगी. So that's very unique. So I think now coming to your question, Komal, I think first of all it's very important कि जो student है वो कि हो क्या रहा है, क्योंकि आप लोग उस age पे मतलब you are digital natives, but still, so you might not be fully immersed in that universe, because you might not be, because your teachers, you are taught by people who were my age. So we are not fully immersed. Because we are not fully immersed, we cannot teach you what something which it doesn't come naturally to us. Like I told you, I am learning from my 8-year-old daughter, because I'm seeing her and seeing her behavior and seeing that if she's spending so much time on this digital environment of Roblox, then I need to learn, what is she learning? Because otherwise I'll be irrelevant for her generation. So my first suggestion to you guys would be that immerse yourself, read as much as you can, and learn and My suggestion would be don't learn from people like me. I hope aapke teachers bura na mane. So what I'm saying is don't learn from your teachers because they don't know. They are not in this world. I'm not in this world. I'm telling you, I'm learning from my 8-year-old. So try to immerse yourself and learn about the digital economy, learn what's happening with metaverse, why people spend so much time in this digital economy and digital world. And if they are spending so much time in this digital world, how is this digital world changing? So the more you learn, automatically the paths will open up. It's very difficult for me to tell you how to learn because, as I said, I'm not digital native myself. I'm also trying to learn like you guys are. But don't keep an anchoring. My suggestion would be learn with an open mind. Don't try to enforce your prejudices from your physical world into this world. There'll be a lot of wrong information. Don't go with the skeptical mind. Because a lot of the skeptical information out there is just there to keep you out of it. पाकिस्तान में एक आदत होती है हमें वैसे भी जनरली, और मैं एज ए एंटरप्रेन्योर इस इशू से बड़ा डील करता हूँ और बड़ा आपसे फाइट करता हूँ कि मैं किसी को कोई काम कहता हूँ, वो मुझे 10 रीजन बता दे सकता है कि क्यों नहीं होगा। मैं कहता हूँ यार लेट्स डू इट लाइक दिस, वो मुझे आके बताता है कि नहीं सर हम इतना नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि वो ये नहीं हो सकता। Instead of finding solutions of how to do it, we are very quick of finding justification on why we are not doing it, and that's most of the time that's just an excuse. कि वो नहीं करना क्योंकि ये तो है फ्रॉड, ये नहीं कर रहा क्योंकि वो तो है स्कैम, और नहीं वो तो उसका एनवायरनमेंट में बड़ा बुरा इफेक्ट है। So just try to go with an open mind because it's for real. It's a very large economy, and if you don't, it will only hurt you. It won't hurt anybody else. So if Pakistan bans it, it will only damage Pakistan. It won't damage. It hasn't damaged the ecosystem.
I think I have a tiny tidbit in terms of a question, especially following from that. I feel that developing countries and countries in general, they're worried about taxation, especially even Pakistan. So I feel that they fear blockchain technologies essentially, especially in the context of cryptocurrencies. Is that fear really, is that legitimate, essentially?
Yeah, Pakistan mein to generally they fear because they don't want to do anything. So they want to say, okay, because we can't bother spending our time learning about it, so just stop it. And then they don't even go and stop it. They just say, oh, let's stop it. Then they're so lazy that they don't even bother stopping it. So what they are doing or not doing, it's on discussing that is almost a waste of your time. You are young and you have a future in front of you. So my suggestion would be that don't even waste your time thinking about what the government or the regulator is doing, because it's a waste of your time thinking about it. Let them do whatever they want to do. China banned crypto mining and things like that. It didn't have a single impact, any substantial impact on the ecosystem. Even China. So Pakistan is irrelevant. They might say that tax is an implication, a fear of losing tax, but that cannot be true because a fraction of people in Pakistan pay taxes in any case. Our tax rate is less than 10% of GDP. So we will let real estate or tax or agriculture go outside of tax net and then worry about the tax, proper tax, some kind of tax evasion on the digital economy. So it's not rational arguments. So it's almost a waste of time even thinking about it.
This has been a really, really interesting discussion and conversation. And before we move towards the end, I would like to ask you about your work as the CEO of BlockTech Pakistan. I'm not entirely sure what it is doing, so can you kindly explain, what is in the works right now?
Oh no, that company doesn't do anything because regulator doesn't allow that company. We don't do anything in blockchain. Only the name is BlockTech. We don't do anything on blockchain with that company. So that's not because we are complying with regulation. So that was only a name. I didn't when I put the name, the regulator said that you cannot do anything in blockchain. I said, okay, I won't do anything in blockchain. I didn't want to change the name after that because I'd just gone through the hassle of registering it. So that's on being compliant with the regulator. I deal a lot with, I deal with the regulator, or at least I talk with the regulator and the government. So, with approach with them is you have to be compliant, and you say to them, okay, you don't want to do it, let's not do it. If that's what you want, let's. But that doesn't change the world. I don't live in Pakistan. I'm not a Pakistani. I'm a British citizen. I live in London. I don't have to teach them. I don't gain anything by teaching the government or the regulator. So if they think if they fear it, let them fear it. If they want to ban it, let them ban it. If they want to stop it, let them stop it. It's not the world. There's a line in a movie. I'm forgetting the complete line. I think it's a line in Casablanca that because I can't quote it, so I shouldn't quote the exact line. But but you should read that line. It's a very famous from Casablanca. मगर पाकिस्तान में क्या गवर्नमेंट करती है नहीं करती है, उससे दुनिया में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, और दुनिया में लोगों को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, और टेक्नोलॉजी सेक्टर को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, और एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, टेक्नोलॉजी के एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को और टेक्नोलॉजी के इन्वेस्टर्स को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. पाकिस्तान का लॉस होता है वो पाकिस्तान का लॉस है. उसका दर्द हो सकता है हमें कि अफसोस है कि वो बेवकूफ है, मगर मेरा काम नहीं है उनको सही करना. नहीं, आपका काम है. आप लोग मतलब लम्स के स्टूडेंट्स है, आप यंग हो, think about the future and think about it from a positive perspective. Don't be skeptical. Don't be उर्दू में से खपती कहते हैं कि don't be खपती ना बने के लोगों पे criticism. हमने कैंपेन लॉन्च की थी कि कंप्लेन ना करो, इन्वेस्ट करो. That was about stocks and companies. But generally I feel that our society makes us complainers. We are always complaining कि ये चीज खराब है, वो चीज खराब है, बिजनेस नहीं आ रहा, ये नहीं आ रहा. But get on with it, and it's better to just focus on what you can do rather than complaining about what you can't do.
I think that's actually a really, really great advice, and this has been a really, really interesting as well as insightful discussion. So just before we end, I would like ask you to summarize it, or just a few comments about our viewers who are interested in blockchain. Any advice, a single advice for them that you have?
First, a question for you: are your viewers LUM students, or are we talking about general public?
Well, majority of the target audience obviously is a LUM student body, but it's going to be uploaded on YouTube, so it's available for everyone.
I was just asking in terms of the medium. कि हम इंग्लिश में बोल रहे हैं कि उर्दू में बोलना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर वाइडर ऑडियंस को जा रहा है तो शायद इंग्लिश मैं उर्दू में बोलूं, अगर
whatever you are comfortable with.
So I think just to summarize, blockchain is far more than crypto investing. It's not about the investing part which you see. You're seeing it because marketing companies behind those crypto applications are forcing you to see that and focusing on that. Get out of that. You will only lose money on that if you're just, that's just a gambling place. But you must learn about blockchain, because internet and the digital economy in which you guys will live in will change, and it's changing because of blockchain. And for you to participate in that digital economy, you guys are growing up with that, so you will have to participate in some way or the other. Either you will be silent participants or you will be active participants. To be active participants, you need to learn about it. It will change every aspect of your life, whether it's how you make payments, or whether how you store your university degrees, or how you interact with people, or how you play a computer game, or how you watch TV and listen to music, and how you buy art. So which is why it's extremely, extremely important for you guys to learn it if you want to be an active participant in this economy. But do not let the volatility in crypto token prices impact your opinion or your learning of the technology. Investing in tokens or speculating in tokens has almost nothing or very, very, very little to do about it, about the technology. So do invest in the technology, but invest after you have learned about how are those tokens impacting the digital economy. And if you haven't learned about it, don't invest. Unless you're investing for the long term, and in that case, just buy Bitcoin and forget about it. But that, I'm not giving you an investment recommendation. I'm just saying that's what Fidelity recommends globally. So that's the summary of it. But you guys must learn. You must spend time to learn about it and learn from an open, positive mind. Just throw yourself in it and learn as much as you can, and forget the naysayers.
That's an amazing perspective, honestly, and thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure, or it's always a pleasure. You can all reach with me on LinkedIn, and it's always a pleasure to talk to LUMS, fellow LUMS students.
It was really great to have you here.